The 6 women from South Carolina looked at the tour guide and were ready to love her. On Friday, they had admired the Tiffany windows at the Met. On Saturday, had hummed along at the matinee of Jersey Boys. On Sunday, had made the pilgrimage to Ground Zero. And today had splurged on lunch at the Mesa Grill, because who doesn't love Iron Chef Bobby Flay? It had all been perfect, they told each other. Now it was evening, and their time here was almost up. The women had just cabbed it to the Village from their Midtown hotel, where their husbands were wrapping up their big East Coast engineers meeting. Watching all the imposing buildings they would never enter and all the purposeful people they would never meet speed past from the cab windows, they relished their one last chance for Manhattan to open up and offer them more. A new friend who wasn't just a concierge or a waiter, maybe a bolder version of themselves to take back home to Plantation Point. They recognized their tour guide right away from the Time Out posting on the web that ranked 25 living legends of New York that should be experienced while they're still alive and kicking. The woman wore a black cape and leaned against the Washington Square arch as if she were holding it up all by herself. She was smaller and older and more round than she had appeared in the picture, and these facts helped set them at ease. Her mouth was cut a little on the wide side, as if to allow for the passage of big emotions. "I'm Becca Kamayer," she said, and then she added with a smile and a twirl, "and this is my dramatic tour guide cape, so you will never lose me." They looked up at her from their twin sets and their drawstring waist crop pants and their flats. They had expected a big nasal voice, but hers was soothing and carried just the right amount of authority. Her hair was a long, rough, textured mix of dark brown and gray, much as theirs was somewhere deep under the defrizzer and the blow drying and the gold-hued dye. When she asked where they were from, they all clamored to answer. Cheryl, the one in the top with the stripes and the nautical brass buttons, got in first, as usual. "You wouldn't have heard of it. It's kind of a suburb of Greenville, South Carolina." Becca smiled again and asked, "How many of you have been to the Village before?" Jackie, who'd organized the tour, said that once, many years ago, she'd come to visit a boyfriend at NYU. Laura, who tended toward shyness, volunteered that her daughter had studied ballet at the Joffrey before the birth of twins put the kibosh on that dream. "Even for those of you who've never set foot in the Village until now," Becca continued, "I think that a tiny bit will rub off on you tonight. Who knows, maybe by the end of the evening, a little piece of South Carolina will rub off on me, though I've never been there." Marianne, who liked everyone to be happy, gave the others a discreet thumbs up. Ever since they had sat around Jackie's blonde kitchen table, studying printouts of Expedia itineraries, each of them had secretly feared that New York City was a test they might fail, the kind that would go on their permanent record. What if the city cast them in an unflattering light, made them heavier than they wanted to see themselves, and at the same time less substantial? What if, upon their return south, their spacious, meticulously decorated homes looked hollow and farcical? What if their husbands, their dear, hearty, hard-working husbands, turned squat and red-faced and corny on them? "So let's talk about Greenwich Village," said Becca, spreading the name on an invisible marquee. Arguably the most famous neighborhood on the planet. They were mesmerized by her hands, surprisingly long and thin. Her palms caught each sentence in midair as if it were an extrusion in need of molding and crimping and polishing. Talk in New York City seemed to be both an art and a skilled trade. Where they came from, speech was a more pulmonary activity, having to do with the concertina-like withholding and releasing of air into select vowels. And I will stop there. Thank you.